Judge Walter Rivera, a member of the Board of Directors, will now introduce this year's commencement speaker, Carrie Mae Weems.
The artist, Carrie Mae Weems, is first and foremost a storyteller. But what makes her so truly exceptional is that she is an artist concerned with and deeply engaged with challenging and transforming our understanding of what an artist's job is. And by job, we mean the broadest definition of that word, to include not simply what one does day to day to earn a living, but more important, to include the broad range of social and moral responsibilities that are part of that job. It means maintaining a willingness to not only speak truth to power, as President Rhodes was suggesting, but the task of teaching others to find their voices as well. It means developing not only a deep understanding of the history and circumstances of one's place in the world, but an abiding faith in the ways in which art creates and generates new knowledge and new realities. Miss Weems, who was born and raised in Portland, Oregon, was awarded a MacArthur Fellowship last year in recognition of the ways she has worked as a photographer, video and filmmaker, and as a teacher to advance our understanding of African American culture and the specific issues that revolve around a deep exploration of the ways in which racism continues to affect all of our lives. After studying dance with the great San Francisco choreographer Anna Halprin, she decided on a visual art career and received an undergraduate degree from Cal Arts and an MFA from UC San Diego. She then went to do postgraduate studies at the Folklore at UC Berkeley. A frequent lecturer at museums and universities, Ms. Weems is a core faculty member of the SVA graduate program in art practice. She has received numerous awards and honors, including the W.E.B. Du Bois Medal, the College Art Association's Distinguished Feminist Award, and a Ford Foundation Art of Change Fellowship. Of particular note is the Institute for Sound and Style, an ongoing project founded and run by Ms. Weems, providing teenagers with a stipend to develop skills in fashion design, music, and art during an innovative summer program. A mid-career retrospective of her work, organized by the Frist Center for the Visual Arts in Nashville, Tennessee, toured nationally, ending with a presentation at the Guggenheim Museum of Art. Ms. Weems is represented by the Jack Shainman Gallery. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce to you the artist, Carrie Mae Weems.
Wow. Wow. You guys, this is amazing. I should say I'd like to thank the Academy. Right, performing here at Radio City Music Hall. You get the chance to graduate from here. How fabulous is that? How fabulous is that? There are, of course, many people to thank. There are many people to thank. Of course, I'm deeply honored to be standing before you students I'm deeply honored to be standing before my colleagues, the faculty and staff here at SVA. I'm deeply honored to be meeting for the first time David Rhodes, the president of this amazing school, whose father actually is one of the co-founders of this school, just in case you did not know that. I'm deeply honored to be here with my amazing friend David Ross, who I've worked with over the years and who probably put me in one of the first major exhibitions that I was ever in this country. To the board and to all those people, we say thank you, we say thank you, we say thank you. But I want to ask you something. I want to ask you something that's really important to me, that I want you to really think about as we sort of move not just simply over this day, but as we move through our lives. I want you to ask yourself, how do we measure a life? How do we measure a life? By what means and by what measure? Do we measure it inch by inch, step by step, crawl by crawl? How will you measure your lives is the most important thing, not only for you students, but for all of us. I'm asking myself this question constantly. How do you measure a life? How do you measure success and failure? What is it? What is it? What is it? How do you measure a life? The valleys explored, the mountains climbed. The success or the failure. How do you measure it day by day or year by year? Do you measure it by yesterday or by today? Do you measure it by the miles walked or the mountains climbed or the valleys explored? How do you measure your life? By the dreams imagined or by the hopes dashed? By the wisdom of wise words spoken or by the sorrow of silence? By the wealth accumulated or by the amount spent? By the monuments built or by the walls scaled? By defeats and or by victories, large and small? Do you measure it over the forgotten or over the remembered? By all the near misses and the exhaustion, or by the ability to endure? How do you measure your life? Do you measure it against fighting against all those traditions, fighting against the tide, against family, and against friends? How do you measure your life? By the suffering of friends and enemies alike? By the end or by the beginning? By those who walk with you to the very end of the precipice? By the friends gathered around you? By the support that you are offered? How do you measure the life? You know, I think of myself as dust in the wind. And I'm going to be here just for a hot second. That's about it. And you think about the vastness of the universe in which we dwell. We are dust in the wind, and yet we are here to mark this moment and to mark your day. This way that you will spend your time, the way that you will mark your lives, the way that you will mark this moment, the way that you will measure your lives, of course, is all up to you. But there are some other factors, I think, that we also have to consider, and I just want to examine a few of them just very, very quickly. There's some things, I think, that we have to remember because we do live in a complicated time in a complicated country. For you artists, because we are all, of course, artists, young and old, there are simply a few facts that we have to remember about some of this. You know, like, I've been reading, you know, How to Win Friends and Influence People, but I haven't been doing a very good job of either. But they tell me that, like if you're a woman or a person of color, that you have a little bit of extra work to do. The ways in which we are looked at, the ways in which we're dealt, is interesting and fascinating. And so just a couple of facts that I just wanted to share very quickly. Of all the exhibitions, of all the solo exhibitions given at the Whitney since 2007, 29% of those went to women, to minorities less. In the year 2000, the Guggenheim gave solo exhibitions to 0 women. In 2014, it went up to 14% of solo exhibitions that were given to women. In 2014, I was the only African American so far in the history of the museum to be given a solo exhibition at that space. At auction, things about money are important because we're artists, so we need some dough, right? At auction, the highest price ever paid for a living woman artist was $7.1 million. The highest price paid for a male, that happened to be Jeff Koons, was $58.4 million. The most ever paid for a work by a deceased woman was $44 million. That was Georgia O'Keeffe. And $142 million for Francis Bacon. O'Keeffe said that this is because that men like to put me down as the best woman painter, when frankly I think I'm the best painter. The highest price that has been paid really for a female artist now that we know of is $11 million. And of course, the highest price in the world, auction price, has been set for Picasso, whose work sold for $179 million. This difference between these millions of dollars, the stretch between how women are thought of, how African Americans and people of color are thought of, actually has tremendous implications for how we are looked at, how we are understood, how we are valued in the country. And I think that it's really important to really understand this and to think about this, even as we enter a time of extraordinary complex change, right? So that we know that, equality, our battle and our fight for equality still exist. The numbers tell the story. But even as that, we are in this sort of remarkable moment, a kind of unprecedented time. And by the year 2020, 2025, all of that, just right around the corner, soon thereafter, this country will become a minority-majority country, moving from white to brown to a nation of dark-skinned people. I first heard this remark really in 1984 by the president of Bank of America, who was given the commencement address for San Francisco State College. Now, everybody that is really seriously thinking about what the future is really looking at this profound cultural shift, profound ethnic shift, profound color shift, ethnic shift that is taking place in the country. This is really important stuff. Between this fact and the new social media, these new tools from the internet to Snapchat and beyond, we've entered into this exciting, extraordinary moment in time, something that America has never seen before, unprecedented. But what does this mean? And how will this profound shift affect you and us and the country as a whole? What does it mean for us socially, politically, culturally? I think, in part, that the rise of Donald Trump is profoundly linked to this profound shift that is taking place, that is cracking in the country. As artists, creative thinkers, how will you respond to this shifting sand, this shifting tide? How will you use this moment to begin to craft new modes of thought and being and purpose? As artists, what effect will this have on your creative output and even the course of your exploration, the questions that you ask and how you ask those questions. And just as, of course, the larger world around you is changing, the art world is also changing, moving outside the white box of the gallery and the museum. If you look at the work of people like Mark Bradford or Mel Chin, Suzanne Lacy, Amalia Mesa Baines, Rick Lowe, Theaster Yates, to name only a few, they are involved in a fine art practice that is coupled with the art of social and civic engagement. Their practice is mapping new territory and for work and method, how we will work in the future. This is profound, phenomenal work. And you don't have to be like them, right? But they are developing new modes that are seminal for us to think about, for us to consider as we move into this new complex world that we have entered. So then, knowing what you know, how will you engage? How will you practice now? What will your practice be? What are you committed to is the question that I think is absolutely important, which is, I think, linked to how you measure your life by understanding what it is that you commit to and how you pursue the level and the depth of that commitment. Responding to this great shift will require, I believe, extraordinary imagination, and deep innovation. This is really sort of an extraordinary time. It's really your moment, absolutely, and you really must seize it. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to share with you a work, A Woman in Winter. Todd. A woman stands in the thaw of winter, the beginning of spring, considering, reflecting, imagining, contemplating the past and imagining the future. With one step, she could be in the future in an instant, or in the past, or in the moment, the now. But to get to now, to this moment, she must look back over the landscape of memory. Lost in memory, the woman faces history. A history with a story that has been told 1,000 times before. If you look on the horizon, here and there, now hidden, now open, are little sightings of hope, of dreams, of memories. And if you look closely still, through the corridors of time, even within the horror, one could see the fluttering wings of doves, doves batting out beats of hope. I want to talk to you for a moment about success. I have no idea really what this means, what this will mean for you, but I do know that sooner or later each and every one of you will have to determine for yourselves what success and what failure are. You will have to establish your own standards. Mine won't necessarily work for you. Working as an artist is one of the most difficult things that I do, and at the same time, it's the only thing I can possibly do. I want you to think about this for a moment, for now. I want you to think very, very deeply and profoundly over the next period of time, what it is that you really want and what it is that you need in your life and what it is that you need from your practice. I do know what it needs from you. Art is demanding, it takes its toll on you in a very profound way. And what I want to do for a second, I want to zoom ahead, and I zoom into the future. We want to look back. So you are now young graduates in your 30s, past tense. Of all the possibilities, you alone held probable cause and turned to the world of art, seeking answers to this question: who will control your production? Who will define you? Who will control your energy, your time, your life? Will it be you or some other force outside of you? I ask this question: what is good when all life is knowledge? There is no mystery, no wisdom, and no mercy. Answering this question becomes your obsession, your preoccupation, your driving force, and the hound dog on your tail. Somewhere along the line, you made the decision that making art spoke to your deeper need and that it held the key to the kingdom. But moving forward, you discover that making art is extremely difficult, requiring tremendous courage, enormous sacrifice, great risk, and some cold, hard cash to boot. And knowing this, you nevertheless stand at the precipice, and you leap into the abyss, into the arms of uncertainty. Open and alert, you respond sensitively to the world around you, and it causes you a great deal of pain and tremendous trepidation. But of course, these are the natural byproducts of a closely examined life. You work and you work and you work and you work, and you are determined to wrestle this thing to the ground. Making art, do what you say do, commanding it, getting on top of those materials become your thing. But your vision is not yet formed. Your work does not yet bear that distinctive mark, your unique hand, your DNA. And Providence for the moment seems to have left you high and dry. In your despair, you toss and you turn, crying yourself to sleep night after night after night, endlessly doubting your ability, and sometimes feeling like a motherless child. I have been there, I know. Searching high and low for your own voice, for your own expressive utterance, you lead yourself down paths that dissipate. You seek answers in forbidden places, empty lots, vacant spaces. Landing in the ageless labyrinth, you stumble past trick mirrors and smoke-filled bottles. Reality bent at a profile angle, distortion everywhere. Confused and fuzzy, you begin to imagine that all the forces of the world are conspiring against you. Bad luck, black cat bone, mojo a hand, born under a bad sign. And yet and still, the pursuits, that driving thing called art, hounds you. And you don't know any rest. And determined to make a way out of no way every day, you rise up and you hit it, on it, going into your studio, trying to make it happen. Art is a demanding mistress. And at times, it seems that work is your only friend, and it turns its back on you too. But just over there, in the shadows, just out of reach and posed for flight, is comfort, smiling back at you, saying, come on out of that game. Some of you, overwhelmed by the fight, exhausted, hang back, and then you drop out. Some of you, with no apparent effort on your part, you meet Lady Luck and sail on into the sunset. A silver lining shrouding you, a guardian angel's halo hovering just above your head, success greeting you with open arms. And then for others, while dwelling long and hard, and even making extraordinary work, success seems to elude you, ducks and dodges, avoiding your every effort. There are no gallery shows, no museum exhibitions, no publications, little recognition, and everything simply seems to be slipping. But in your spare time, between sleep and family and husband, wife, lover, friend, you continue to work sometimes. But your work and your effort, misunderstood, exacts a heavy toll, and you pay a heavy price. Flat broke, your parents think of you now as a loser, a freeloading space cadet. Money down the drain, bad luck, throwing good money after bad. The kids consider you a bad father and a worse mother. And your mama says, "Child, get a job." But in the midst of the storm, you stood your ground. Stand your ground. And without fear of retribution, you did challenge the traditions that denied you a rightful place and a rightful voice, and you kept working. You worked and you continued to work in spite of, and you came to distinguish the difference between the art world and the world of art. And you came to know that full well that you did not enter this pursuit, this thing called art, for money, but because, you wanted the experience of the glory of the purpose. That there is nothing like a finely tuned eye in a craftsman's hand. And let it be said that when you look back over the course of your measured life, you had absolutely no regrets. No regrets. And so, you have to make a commitment. You have to decide who you're going to serve. And so I will leave you simply with this short video clip.
You may be a businessman or some high degree. They may call you doctor, or they may
Call you chief, but you're gonna have to serve somebody.
Yes, you are. You're
You're gonna have to serve somebody. Thank you.
Well, it may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you're gonna have to serve somebody.
Oh, we are on the wisdom trail today.